The Zephyrian guards had grown complacent. For 3 standard cycles, the human had sat motionless in his crystalline cell, staring at the polished metal floor with dead eyes. His name was Marcus Chen, though the aliens had long since reduced him to a mere designation. Specimen 7741H. Commander Vextar observed the prisoner through the reinforced viewing panel, his forearms folded behind his chitinous back. The human appeared broken, a shell of whatever warrior had once torn through an entire Zephyrian assault battalion, with nothing but primitive kinetic weapons and raw determination. The subject shows no signs of resistance, reported Dr. Kithara, her tentacled appendages dancing over the holographic display. Neural scans indicate severe psychological trauma. Motor functions have degraded to basic survival responses only. Vextar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Humans were supposedly the galaxy's newest apex predators, but this one had been thoroughly domesticated. The interrogation drugs, sensory deprivation, and carefully calibrated torture had finally achieved what 3 years of conventional warfare could not: the complete subjugation of human will. "Excellent," Vextar hissed. "Begin the final extraction. Protocol. I want every detail about Earth's defensive capabilities before we dispose of this one." The extraction chamber hummed to life as restraint fields engaged around Marcus's limp form. Servo arms descended from the ceiling, each tipped, with neural interface needles designed to pierce directly into the brain's memory centers. The process was typically fatal, but that was acceptable. They had learned all they needed from keeping him alive. Dr. Kithara manipulated the controls with practiced efficiency. Initiating cranial breach in 3, 2, 1. The first. Needle touched Marcus's temple. His eyes snapped open. The change was instantaneous and terrifying. Where moments before there had been a broken shell of a man, now there was something else entirely. Something that made every primitive survival instinct in the alien's genetic memory scream in warning. Marcus moved. The reinforced restraint fields, designed to hold a rampaging Thraxian berserker, shattered like spun glass. The neural interface needles crumpled against his skin as if they were made of soft metal. But it was his chains, the quantum-locked shackles that had held him for 3 years, that truly defied explanation. They didn't break, they didn't unlock. They simply ceased to exist where they touched his wrists, dissolving into fundamental particles as if reality itself rejected their presence around him. Dr. Kithara's scream died in her throat as Marcus rose to his feet. He moved with fluid precision, every muscle fiber working in perfect harmony after years of enforced stillness. But there was something more, something that made the air itself seem to bend around him. "Impossible," Vextar whispered, his voice trembling through the comm system. "The sedatives alone should have—" Marcus turned toward the viewing panel. When their eyes met through the reinforced barrier, Vextar felt something he had never experienced in his 40-year military career: pure animalistic terror. The human smiled. "You made a mistake," Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber despite the soundproofing. "You assumed I was broken because I stopped fighting." The viewing panel, 3 inches of transparent aluminum capable of withstanding planetary bombardment, developed a hairline crack. "You never considered that maybe I was learning." Marcus placed his palm against the wall of his cell. Where human flesh met alien metal, the crystalline barrier began to resonate at impossible frequencies. Structural integrity warnings blazed across every console in the facility. Dr. Kithara's tentacles flailed as she desperately tried to activate emergency protocols. "All units to detention level 7. Code Omega. The specimen has—" The wall exploded outward. Marcus stepped through the breach as klaxons wailed throughout the research station. The first wave of Zephyrian guards arrived within seconds, weapons charged and ready. Their plasma rifles discharged in perfect synchronization, filling the corridor with enough destructive energy to vaporize a small building. The energy weapons beams bent around Marcus like light around a gravitational lens, scorching the walls behind him, but leaving him untouched. He walked forward through the barrage as if strolling through a gentle rain. 3 years. he said conversationally as alien soldiers scrambled to reload. 3 years of your scientists poking around in my head, thinking they were breaking me down. But every probe, every scan, every violation, it taught me something about how your technology works. The nearest guard raised a vibroblade, the monomolecular edge humming with deadly potential. Marcus caught the weapon barehanded. The blade, designed to cut through starship hulls, crumpled in his grip. You see, you weren't studying a broken human, Marcus continued, advancing down the corridor as blast doors slammed shut ahead of him, only to buckle and tear as he approached. You were reverse engineering yourselves for me. Commander Vextar's voice echoed from hidden speakers, pitched high with panic. All stations, abandon ship. Repeat, abandon ship. Initiate core destabilization. Marcus paused at an intersection, considering the path ahead. Through the station's superstructure, he could sense the positions of every alien aboard, their bioelectric signatures as clear to him as visual targets. 3 years of neural scanning had taught him to perceive electromagnetic fields the way others perceived light. Tell the hegemony something when you report this, Marcus said, knowing his voice was being recorded on every monitoring system, still functional. Humans don't break. We adapt. The station's central core began to overload, containment fields fluctuating as emergency systems failed one by one. Marcus placed his hand against the nearest wall and felt the pulse of the station's power grid like a heartbeat. With a thought, he redirected the destabilization sequence. Instead of an explosion, there was silence. In the docking bay, emergency pods launched frantically into space as the few surviving crew members fled. They would return to Zephyrian, space with stories that their commanders would initially dismiss as trauma-induced hallucinations, until similar reports began arriving from other facilities. Marcus stood alone in the station's command center, surrounded by dead controls and the soft hum of life support systems running on emergency power. Through the viewport, he could see the familiar blue marble of Earth hanging in the distance, scarred but unbroken after 3 years of siege. He closed his eyes and reached out with senses that no human before him had ever possessed. Senses developed through years of alien experimentation and guided by a will that had never truly broken. Across the solar system, he felt them. Dozens of similar research stations, each housing captured humans, each attempting to unlock the secrets of mankind's stubborn refusal to surrender. Marcus smiled again, and this time, there was nothing human in the expression at all. Let's go collect the others, he whispered to the darkness. It's time to go home. The station's engines flared to life, responding to commands issued by thought alone. In the depths of space, something that had once been merely human began its journey home, carrying with it 3 years of accumulated knowledge about alien weaknesses and the absolute certainty that humanity's war for survival had just entered a new phase. The Zephyrians had wanted to break a human. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, a human who could no longer be broken by anything the universe had to offer.